Hi, good morning, everyone. I think last time we have stopped last Friday. We had some issue with this, right? So it is simple, like I just enable the virtualization. After that, if you go to the settings, now I can see the 64-bit operating system version, which is enabled. So if you don't do that, you don't see anything like 64-bit for any set of operating system which you're trying to use, right? It will show only 32-bit. So which causes the problem. So after enabled it, I can see all the options are enabled. I was able to change. If I click on OK, these changes will get saved. So let me cross verify. Okay, my system is fine. I give 6 GB. One core CPU is fine. I have totally 8 core CPUs for my base operating system. Sorry, base machine. And I just allocated only one CPU. That's fine for me. For Docker, it's fine. For Kubernetes, at least we need to give 2 core CPU. Now storage, come to the storage, click on empty, select your image which you have downloaded, right? So Ubuntu 20.04. Okay. So networking, by default right now we are using only NAT. I'll tell you what is this exactly, what it does. Okay, do we get internet connectivity or not? Whether we will be able to reach to this particular network or not? Everything I will show you practically. Okay. So that will register in your mind. So I'm not using anything else. What is this adapter in the sense, let's say you have a physical laptop, let's say you have a laptop, you purchased it, or you have a desktop. Okay, so when you connect a LAN cable to that, how many sockets you have? By default you will get it only one, right? If you have assigned, means like if you have purchased and if you have insert the slots like four, maximum of four, that's how it looks. We have slot 1, 2, 3 and 4. Okay, so the maximum number of virtual interfaces that can be attached to your virtual is nothing but virtual machine is nothing but 4 maximum. But by default, you'll get by default, if I don't do anything, by default, one adapter will be enabled, and that will be NAT, Network Address Translate. What is this exactly? We will discuss. So click on OK. Now let me start my virtual machine to install the operating system on this. Okay. So let's boot this. So it is asking once again, let's start. So until the logins are created for you, I think these videos will be shared through some particular medium, like maybe email or something like that. So management will try to make a note of it. So the first option which you get, it is nothing but it will ask you what kind of language you want to use for this installation process. Okay, so I'll be comfortable with English. Everybody hopes so. So just press enter. Okay, it's already selected with English. Now this language is nothing but your keyboard language. So keyboard language in the sense, after the operating system is installed, if you type something, what language you want. Okay, so that is obviously nothing but layout, and variant is nothing but English. Okay, so that is keyboard language. So I'm okay with this. That will be the default settings. I'm not modifying anything. So enter. So it is already selected with the done. So let's go with enter. Okay, now you can see I haven't modified anything. So what happened in the background in the sense, let me show you that practically. Let me Open a paint. Now this is your base machine. Okay. On top of that, you are trying to create a virtual machine. Okay. So this virtual machine, you are trying to create VM with Ubuntu 20.04 LTS version, right? So this is what I'm trying to do. Okay. So my base machine is having Windows, some 20 GB of RAM, and 2 terabyte, let's say for example, and 8 core CPU. Okay, so what I have right now. Okay, and this is connected to my router. That's how it is. Now you created a virtual machine using Oracle VirtualBox. That is my hypervisor, which sits between them. Now, now this one is having a NAT network. Okay, so which means that your Oracle VirtualBox through software, it has created some particular switch. Okay, that is called as NAT. Okay, so let's assume this is NAT. Now, when your VM is connected through that particular socket to the NAT, okay, so this NAT will have some DHCP. So what is DHCP and all I will tell you. But in simple word, DHCP in the sense, when you try to have IP address, when you want an IP address, automatically this particular NAT interface will assign an IP address to your virtual machine. Okay, that will be done. Whoever sends a request, automatically this DHCP will try to assign an IP address to this virtual machine. So that is called as DHCP. Okay, if a DHCP is not there, you have to allocate some IP address manually from your end. Okay, that is called as manual allocation, or we have static allocation. There are two types actually. Okay, now that is DHCP. So what happened right now, if you look at this particular thing, what happened is like there is a DHCP enabled on my NAT interface. Okay, because of that, what happened, when you're trying to install operating system on this particular stage, it will send a request to this particular NAT. NAT will say what IP address I should assign. That IP address will be released to your VM. Okay, so once it is released, it will see whether the VM is comfortable or not. It will allocate, and it will send an acknowledgement to the NAT, and it will say that yes, I want to use this IP. So NAT will register this particular details with the MAC address and the IP address assigned to it. That's how it will happen. This is how you see an automatic IP address here. What is IP address? 10.0.2.15. That is IP address. Okay. Now here the IP address is 10.0.2.15. That's how it looks. This is the IP address which was assigned. Okay. So keep this diagram like this. Now this is done. So done. Nothing to do with proxy because our servers are not behind the proxy, right, to connect to the network. So I'm not worried about it. Some organizations, what will happen, for everything, if you want to connect to the internet or something, you have to be in a proxy. Okay, so at that point of time, you have to enter the proxy details. Okay, and this is nothing but if you want to communicate, if you want to download some packages and all, this is the repository. By default you get it from Ubuntu, okay, which is called as mirror in the sense where it is a repository URL where you can download the packages what is needed for your system. Okay, this also I'll not change, it comes from the operating system itself by default. So done. Now it is asking you important thing that is related to disk partitions. You are using a virtual disk, but that is also in the point of virtual machine, it is a disk, right? You have to do some partition, saying that I want to allocate this amount of space to my root file system, this amount of space to boot and all. Since you don't know about that right now, let's not do anything else. I will try to use the entire 100 GB which I have used here, okay, as it is. So I need to go to done. I'm using LVM partition actually. So I'm trying to use the entire disk. If you want to modify something, then you have to use custom storage layout. Okay, if you want to tell like I want this amount of space, this amount of this amount of size to my directory and all, then you have to do your own partitions. That is called as custom storage layout. If automatically it should happen through the ISO itself, operating system itself, then you can use the first option. Okay, then done. Now you can see automatically it created two partitions. One is root mount and one is boot. You can see on the top, file system summary. Okay, under that you can see two partitions. First partition is having 49.948 GB and the second partition is boot. See, boot doesn't need too much of space actually. Okay, boot directory. So that's the reason they have created a separate boot directory so that if your root directory is crashed, that doesn't affect your booting the operating system. So that's the reason a separate boot partition was created that is of 1 GB, which is more than enough for now. So now I'm okay with these partitions which are created automatically. So done. Enter. Do you want to continue? Yes, I want to continue. So continue. Okay. Your name means you can give your name whatever you want. Okay. And then the server name. Sorry for the background noise. So here I need to give some server name. Okay. Let's say any server name is nothing but your host name of the machine. Okay. What I can give, not about Ubuntu Docker. Ubuntu Docker is a virtual machine name. From the Oracle, from the graphical user interface point of view, if you want to see which VM is doing what, I'll give some name. So Ubuntu Docker is something where to identify my VM. But to reach to the operating system, like to reach to this virtual machine, you can either reach to the IP address through the IP address or through the host name, which is also called a server name. So I want to allocate some host name to my virtual machine. Okay, so what is that? So that is nothing but, let's say I will say something like Ubuntu server doc. Okay, just a name. I will show you how it looks. Then by default in Ubuntu operating system, it doesn't ask you to create a root password, root user password. Okay, root user is the main user for Linux operating system, like how we have for Windows administrator, right? Similar to that, for Linux, it is root. Root user is the main administrative user. So for that user, it doesn't ask you to set the password. Instead of that, your Ubuntu operating system while installing it will say you that create one user with some password. With that user only you have to log in. After that, if you want, you can modify something. Okay. While installing, we have to create some user with some password. Okay. So I'll be using test user password. Test 123. That is what I used to give, test 123, right? Okay, and then done. So here I need to install this particular SSH. Why? Because SSH server package. Why? Because if you want to log into your virtual machine from the remote location, you have to have this particular package installed. Okay, this package will tell whether to block the remote connection or whether to allow the remote connection, whether the direct only the sudo users are allowed or not. Everything can be managed from this particular package. This is a very secure way to log into your system from the remote location. Okay, all the time I cannot open this console and log into my virtual machine, right? I have to log in from remote location, either from putty or from mobile external or somewhere. Let's say if it is a public machine, means public IP address, I can log in from other geographical location if I want to practice something, right? So at that point of time, we need to have this particular package installed. So I want to install with the operating system itself. So if you, in order to select this particular package, give the space bar. Okay, it is selected. Okay, don't modify anything. Give a tab. Automatically it will shift. It came to done, right? So then press enter. Now here also don't install any package. By default, this ISO is providing you some packages to install if you want. But I don't want to install from here. I want to do it from manually. Okay. So then done, continue. So now your operating system is getting installed. Okay. So just ignore the background noise. Okay.
I see.
Yep.
Meanwhile, can you go back to the page once?
Okay.
So this Windows 20 GB RAM, 2 TB, and 8 CPU, is this your personal
It's my personal laptop, right? See, on my personal laptop, I have this, right? I'm showing you all of them with my personal laptop. It's not a remote, right? You can see, right? This is Windows.
Uh,
Okay.
what I'm trying to understand is this rectangle box. Is this rectangle box based on your personal laptop or the VM created in the Oracle VirtualBox?
Sorry. Just give me 2 minutes. Okay. There is some background noise. I'm not able to hear you. Just give me 2 minutes. Yeah. Now coming in.
Okay, bigger rectangle box with 20 GB RAM and 2 TB this thing memory. Is this
Okay.
your personal? Does that represent your personal Windows laptop, or does
Yes.
it represent the VM
No,
created in
it's
the?
my No, it's my personal laptop. On this Windows laptop, I don't want to disturb my operating system. So without disturbing this operating system, I used a feature called hypervisor, which is called as Oracle VirtualBox, and I'm trying to create a virtual machines. Okay, so that's what this diagram represents about, right?
Okay,
So in
this
this,
one,
I
the
allocated 6 GB.
square. Okay, the
See,
square above the rectangle is the Oracle Virtual Box.
yes, yes.
So that Oracle VirtualBox, whatever servers you create in that, will use your personal laptop's RAM.
Of course, yeah, exactly.
Okay, that's where the difference comes between GCP server or AWS instance. With AWS instance gives it from the cloud without any
Simple.
relation with the personal
See,
laptop.
AWS instance, yeah, AWS instance is something where it creates from their own data center. Okay, their data center, you have availability zones and regions, right? In the, let's say, India is Mumbai is one of the region we have, right? In the Mumbai region also we have two availability zones, which means that there are two data centers. Okay, so when you try to select that, automatically when you try to create an instance, it will go to one of the physical host, and using the hypervisor, it will create a virtual machine on top of it. It looks like this. Technically, from cloud, it is called as instance. For us, it's actually a virtual machine. Okay.
Yeah. When you selected one core and 100 GB, when
Automatically,
in
these are
the
default.
Oracle, no, in the Oracle VirtualBox, you selected one core and 100 GB
Yeah.
space, right? So that
Yes.
one core and 100 GB is used by your personal laptop's
Of course. You see,
configuration.
it doesn't get from anywhere, right? It is from your local laptop. It's not from somewhere else. Okay.
Okay.
Whatever I have allocated, these are virtual devices, right? These are virtual devices.
Yeah.
These
So
virtual
Oracle.
devices are created through software.
Okay. I thought Oracle VirtualBox will allocate that from the Oracle data center.
No. Oracle VirtualBox is something like tool which is used to create a virtual machines, not to connect to someone else. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. It's kind of hypervisor, software hypervisor. Okay.
Okay. In this case of this system, it is using 6 GB of RAM from your 20 GB of personal laptop's RAM.
Yes. Exactly. So whenever this virtual machine is running, right, my base machine will have only 14 GB of RAM. 6 GB RAM was utilized by my virtual machine. That's a point which you have to remember. Okay. When this virtual machine is powered off, means it is not running, then total 20 GB is available for my base machine. Okay.
Yeah, got it. Thanks.
Yeah. Now after this was done, right, successfully, I will show you how to automate this process. Okay. Last time I told, right, there is a tool called Vagrant, which we can spin up a virtual machine by contacting to that particular Oracle VirtualBox. Let's see how to do that later. So now what I can do, I can actually cancel, update and reboot. So let me wait until these updates are done. Okay, it is downloading and it is trying to install the security updates, right? Let it go on. Once it is installed, right, then I will get an option called reboot. Then I need to click on reboot. Automatically it will reboot. Now it will load the operating system from your disk. 100 GB disk, you have installed some operating system, right? To the slash boot operating boot directory. From there it will try to load your operating system. Okay. Similarly, like whatever you do for Windows, right? Similar to that. some C drive, it will try to load your operating system, right? When you boot after it is installed, it is the same. Simple. From the ISO, we are trying to install the operating system onto your disk, so that every time when you can boot your system from the hard disk. That's the intention actually. Sometimes it takes some time actually because it has to do some updates and all, right? So sometimes it takes, so it depends. So that's the reason we have to be patient enough in this initial stage actually. So meanwhile, let me explain what we are trying to automate this. Automate in this is simple. I will try to install Vagrant tool. Okay. So what this Vagrant tool will do, nothing but you have installed Oracle VirtualBox on your system, right? No installed. Now what this tool will try to do, this tool will try to contact your Oracle VirtualBox. Okay, now this for Oracle VirtualBox, he is the provider. This is something. Yes. Okay, this is how it is. So for your Vagrant tool, which you will try to install right now, for a Vagrant tool, you will tell to whom I need to contact and create a mission like infrastructure for you. Okay, I want to create some infrastructure in the sense creating a virtual machine, making it ready with installing the operating system. Or after installing operating system also I want to do something like installing some packages or making it ready by doing some changes in the configuration file or something, xyz reason. Okay, so those things are called as making your infrastructure as ready. Now to do that, till now you are using manual steps, right? Creating a VM on your Oracle VirtualBox and then installing the operating system and then installing some packages if you want, that you are doing manually. So you have to wait for certain period, right? So as an engineer, like I can operator or like operations engineer or something like that, I cannot wait for such a long time, keeping sitting on the system in front of the system and waiting for those instructions. So instead of that, I will be using these kind of tools. I will specify what I need. Ultimately, when the VM is ready, I will tell like what is needed to do. Okay, through some particular file or some CLI, whatever it is. So when you specify that, the tool will understand the requirements and then it is designed in such a way that it will understand the instructions what you gave in the file, and based on that it will try to create a virtual machine by contacting to the provider. Okay, so how many providers it supports? We have so many providers, like it can contact to Docker or any other providers as well. So right now I'm trying to use a provider called Oracle VirtualBox. Why? Because my intention of Vagrant tool is to contact Oracle VirtualBox and spin up a virtual machine. That is my requirement. Okay, your requirement might be different. For example, let's say Vagrant providers. Okay, if you see provider section, okay, see, while Vagrant out of the box supports to VirtualBox, Hyper-V, Docker. Okay, so if you scroll down a bit, you can see this VirtualBox, VMware, Docker, and Hyper-V. If you want to use any third-party provider which is not supported by Vagrant officially, we can use some custom providers, which means that if you have a provider like when something, and if you want to integrate that to your Vagrant tool to spin up something infrastructure, then you can write your own custom providers. But that is not our syllabus, right? We are using the existing providers which are called as VirtualBox, okay, which is already exist, right? So to overview, overall, you can just see which Oracle VirtualBox is supported, is the latest version of VirtualBox is supported or not. So based on that, you have to download and you have to see which are not supported and which are supported. Okay, and after that, usage in the sense how I need to use. Provider is nothing but VirtualBox. If you are using CLI command, okay, and create a base box. For that, you can see they'll give you some sample example how to do it actually, but these are like manual steps. Okay, here you can see Vagrant file or something. So let me show you how to do it. But if you want to read something, you can just read here. Okay, if you want. So now what I want to do is nothing but let's see if this is done or not. Still reboot now. I got it. So reboot now. Let it be done. Then we will do with Vagrant 2. I'll show you everything manually. Later on, I will show you how to do it through a Vagrant 2. Okay, press enter. Now you can see now this operating system should boot from your virtual disk. Okay, nothing to do with ISO. ISO has already done the job of installing the operating system into your disk. Now it should load from your virtual disk. So you can see you got welcome. See, these are the services which are getting started. Okay, so these services are needed for your operating system to run or some particular applications to run. That's the reason I told you, right? The containers are more effective well for creation or to run the applications than virtual machines. Why? Because it is loading so many services which you even don't know about it, right? So now I got a login prompt. So this is called as login prompt. You will get something like this, but you can ignore. But you got a login prompt right now. Okay, so it is running some cloud init process actually. So that's the reason. Yeah. So now you got this. You need to give your username password. Which username password you'll give? While installing the operating system, you give some username, right? Those. So test user. Okay. And the password is nothing but the password which I set when I while installing the operating system. So it is test 123. Okay. Now you can see you have successfully logged into your virtual machine right now. Okay. Now if I want to switch to the root user, simple sudo space -i. It will ask you the password of that sudo user. Done. Now you have switched it to the root user. Now if you want to set a password for this root user, you can give passwd. Enter. Don't no need to give any name because we are trying to change the password of our own user, which have already logged in. Okay. So passwd. So it is asking you to set a new password. So test123, which are you supposed to give every time. Now this is done. You can see password updated successfully. Done. Let me see whether it is working or not. So exit. I came back to my old user. I means I logged out from that user. If I give again exit, I will get a login prompt on the terminal. Now I can test whether I can able to log into the root user or not. So user is root. Password is test123. I have successfully logged in. Everything is working fine, right? Now, can I connect to the internet? Let's see. How we will check whether we are able to connect to the internet or not? Ping. Simple command. Google.com, right? See, I was able to connect to the internet. Fine. So with the NAT network, you'll be able to connect to the internet. There is no packet loss. You can see there. Everything is fine. I have sent 6 packets and I got a response for that particular 6 packets, which means that your communication is successful. Okay. So now next verification, what we have to do. Okay. So for me here, with this terminal, I'm not comfortable. Why? Because I cannot copy paste anything. Let's say if I want to copy this and if I want to paste it to on my terminal, that is not possible actually. I cannot do. Okay. So how I can overcome this? Overcome in this is simple. I want to connect to this virtual machine from remote in the sense what from my base machine or from other locations. Okay. So that is what that is called as remote connection, right? Yeah. Sorry. Now if you want to do, let me open this mobile system. If you are comfortable, you can use putty. Okay, so now go to sessions. What is IP address? SSH. What is IP address? 10.0.2.15, right? Username is root. Enter. Okay, access allow. That's fine. Now you can see you're not getting any response. Okay, you might have a question that is there any problem with the root login or something. Let's try with another user, test user, right? We have a test user. Let's try with him. So 10.0. See, the connection got refused. You can see network error, connection timeout. Means whatever the request you have sent, it is not done successfully within the time. Okay, so test user. Let me give enter. Okay, see, even from the test user, like with the test user also, it is not possible. Why? Because in NAT, try to understand the concept. For the NAT, though you are able to connect to the internet, you will not able to communicate to your virtual machine, which means that from the base machine. Okay, so from the base machine, what I'm trying to do, SSH, okay, user, and I'm trying to give the IP address of my virtual machine 10.0.2.15. This is what happening with this particular tool actually. Okay, so when I'm giving this, it is getting rejected. Why? Because NAT by default it will not allow the incoming connection. Only outgoing connections are allowed, which means that you can communicate to the internet or you can reach to anyone, but you are not allowed to reach from your base machine only. You are not able to connect. Forget about from outside world. Forget about the outside world. From the base machine only, you are not able to connect to your virtual machine. It is blocked. Okay, that is a default behavior. Okay, if you want that kind of feature, if you are not worried about connecting to your virtual machine, then you can go with this particular network. But still there is a loophole in the sense I can still enable. Okay, I want to enable only SSH connection from the base machine or from outside to my virtual machine. Is that really possible? Yes, it is possible. That is called as port forwarding. We can do a port forwarding, which means that on the NAT network I can enable the port forwarding, which means that on the Windows you will open some port number. Okay, let's say 2424 like that, for example. I'm saying that port number by default, you have installed OpenSSH server, right? If you remember, we have installed OpenSSH server. I told you this is important for you to communicate from outside. Okay, so by default OpenSSH server will listen on 22 port number. Every service will bind with some port number, even in Windows also, but you never came through that actually. But any service will try to listen some particular port number. So your OpenSSH server will listen on 22 port number. When you're trying to communicate through network, it will try to listen on some port number to accept the request. Okay, so 22 port number. But now I'm not able to connect with this. This is not happening. Why? Because NAT is blocking my incoming connection. So I'm trying to do from port forwarding. So how to do that? So go back to your Oracle VirtualBox, go to network. Okay, click on advanced. Here you can see a port forwarding, right? This can be done, these changes can be done even though if your virtual machine is running. Okay, add here 2424. It is nothing but you are trying to open 2424 port number on your host machine. Host machine is nothing but your base machine. Guest port is nothing but your virtual machine. You are trying to bind it to 22 port number. Okay, rule number one is nothing but you are trying to bind your Windows machine 22 port number to your virtual machine 22 port number. Okay, so click on OK and OK. Okay, done, right? Now what will be the command? Now it will not be like simple SSH. You customize the port number, right? -p. What is that? 2424. If you are using default port number, it should be 22. So no need to pass -p option. If it is a custom port number, you have to tell which port number. then only your SSH command can understand. Now you are trying to communicate to the test user, for example, and now which IP address you will give? No need to give the virtual machine's IP address. You have binded the 2424 port number on your Windows, right? You can give localhost as well, or you can give IP address of your virtual base machine, or you can give 127 as well. It is a loopback IP address actually. I will tell you when we come across networking, but this is a local host. Local host in the sense you can communicate only within that particular machine. Okay, or IP address. So these are the three things which are allowed. Nowhere I am giving my virtual machine IP address now. Okay, so this is what it will do here. So how to I need to tell my this particular mobile system how I need to explain that. Let me show you. So session SSH and then IP address is now localhost. Sorry, user is test user 2424, right? And then click on OK. Now you can see it is successful. See, I logged into my virtual machine right now. You can see here I logged in successfully. Okay, so this is how you can do. Okay, you can still allow the connection by doing some port forwarding, which means that one port will be binded to your a port which you application is listening. Okay, that's how it is. Simplified, right? So now you can connect to your virtual machine from your base machine if you want to do some copy paste and all, and if you want to simply see now I can copy paste anything, it will accept, this terminal will accept it. Okay, so but from the console it is not possible. Okay, this is called as console access. Okay, so now one more thing, so let me exit from here. Let me try to connect with root site. So localhost root user and the port number is, sorry, the port number 2424, right? Let's click on OK. Now still you can say it is getting rejected. Does okay? It is asking me the password. Okay, let me give test 123. Access denied. So can someone tell me what could be the problem? Anyone who already has some idea on Linux? Any guess what went wrong? See, I logged in from test user. It's working fine. But why not from the root? Any specific reason? See, few people are already working on Linux, right? Any guess? No? Okay, so everybody is new. Okay, simple. Permit root login is disabled, which means that from the remote location, if you try to log into the root user, by default it is disabled actually. You have to enable it. Okay, we installed some package, right? OpenSSH server package. That by default it will not allow the root access from outside. Okay, so we have to enable it. So how to do that? Let's open the file. To open the file and modify something, we use editors actually. The simple editor which you can modify when you're trying to learn is nothing but Nano. Okay, Nano is an editor to open the file. So how we use Notepad, Notepad++, right? In Windows, in Linux, you are doing everything from CLI. So Nano is an editor which will open as a file, text file. /etc ssh shd_config. Don't open this simple ssh config file. Okay, this is not the file which you are looking at. The file which you are trying to open is nothing but shd_config. You can see you got a connection timeout. But anyway, D, open this file, go to the line called permit root login. You can see here. Okay, remove this one. Sorry, remove the comment, and here try to make this as yes. Okay, done, right? So Control X to save and actually to exit. It will ask you whether to save or not. Yes, I want to save. So capital Y. Shift Y. Now enter. Now the changes have been applied in this file. Now to apply these changes immediately, we have to restart the service or we have to reload the service. Okay. So systemctl, let me do a reload or restart. So let me do a restart message d, which means that whatever the package you have installed, right, it is running as a service in the backend. Okay. Now when you do some changes in the configuration file, to read the new changes in the configuration file by your service, you have to restart it. So when you restart, what will happen? It will kill the process, it will kill the service what is running right now, and it will start the service again. So when it is getting started, it will read the configuration file once again. So that's the reason we have to do a restart. Okay. So that point is clear, I hope so. Now when I restarted, let me try to do a reconnect. I gave shift R, automatically it will do a recurrent. You can see now. Now I logged in with the root user. How I am able to log in now? Because you have allowed, you have did some changes on your server saying that, okay, please allow the remote connections as a root user. That's the reason it is accepted. Okay. So this is the basic. So till here, everything is fine. Hope you understood or any questions.
So this root user was created by default, is it? When
See, by
you
root user will be there. You are not creating it actually. Any ISO which you take Linux, root user will be there. For Windows, right? Are you creating any administrator user? No, right? By default it is.
this test user that you created,
It's my
did
own
we
user.
okay, I missed. Did you create right now test user?
Yeah, while installing the operating system, right?
Okay, maybe I missed that
Because
step.
yeah, while installing the operating system, it doesn't ask you to set a root user password. So what is the alternative? I have to create some user. That user is a sudo user actually. That's the reason. You know what is a sudo user?
Yeah, super user.
Oh no, no, I'm not talking about super user, sudo user.
No.
Sudo user is something where what you said like super user is something where you'll get a temporary root access, right? When you execute some commands. Okay. Always you will be giving sudo for every command. What does it mean? Until this command is executed, this will be you will be acting as a root. That is called a sudo user. We have three types of users in Linux: normal user, sudo user, root user. Root user is nothing but he can do anything on the Linux operating system. Sudo user is something where he will have some restrictions, but still he can execute some commands what root user can execute, but he need to give sudo as a before. Okay. But few users will be there, even though if you give sudo also it doesn't work. Why? Because they are normal users. Okay. So these are the three types of users. Okay. Now, coming to the next point, if you see the IP address, you can see IP space A command. You can see this is the interface where you got the 10.0.2.15/20. Okay, this is called as loopback interface. Loopback interface in the sense it will work internally. Every operating system, whether it is a Linux or Windows, you will have this interface, loopback interface. Thing will work from here. If you try to communicate from outside, no, because every system will have 127. So to which machine you will try to communicate? No, right? So that's why it is called as loopback interface. Okay. Now this is how this is created through software. Okay. This is something where we have attached, right? This is like a virtual interface. Okay. Now, so this is done, right? So let us go to the next level. I want to install Docker on this Ubuntu. So go to the official document, check here for Docker install Ubuntu. Okay, just click on that. You'll get the first link itself. Just click on that. Here it will ask you which Ubuntu versions are supported. Which one I am using? This one, right? So okay, my prerequisites are met. Okay, and Docker engine supports on x86 architecture or it's like that. So if I give uname-a, you can see we are using x86_64 architecture, right? So this is fine for me. So all the things are supported. OS prerequisites, like whatever it is needed, it's supported. And in the next phase, it is telling you that uninstall old versions of Docker. Okay. So why old versions? Because in the old version we used to install like this. The package name is like this actually. Okay. So if you want the old version, you can go ahead with this. Okay. Now you can see if I want to install, I can install actually. I'll give you one command. Okay. If I want to see which package is I can install right now, that package name if you give, it will tell you whether we can install it or not. So the command is apt-cache policy. What is the package name? Docker-io. If I execute this command, you can see it is telling you that you can install this particular version from this repository, from official Ubuntu repository Docker version. This version, and this is older version actually. Either you can install the older version or you can install the new version. Okay, which one will be installed by default if you don't pass anything? If I execute apt install and this particular package name, it will install the latest version. You can see in the candidate section, right? This will tell you which version will get installed. Okay, out of the versions listed below. So I don't want to install the package from the Ubuntu repository. If you want to install from official Docker repository, then below there are some steps actually. Okay, first of all, let me see if I have old versions or not. Sudo is not required. Why? Because I'm already on the root. So this command, let me paste. This command will remove the old packages, right? So let's see. See, nothing is there. So I'm okay because it's a new machine, right? How you can have a Docker installed? It could not happen, right? Until you do it. So anyway, but still we are trying to verify. Okay. Now it is also telling you to verify this directory is there or not. Okay. This directory is also not there. So I'm happy. So everything is fine. I can go ahead and I can install the latest version of Docker from the Docker repository. Okay. This is also latest version actually. You see, this is also a latest version. But if you don't want to install from Ubuntu repository, that's the reason I'm going with Docker. Okay, Docker repository. I just want to install from Docker repository. Okay, from the official provider. Now let's scroll down. No need to check anything like this. Let's scroll down. Now this is the one which we are trying to install. We have to follow these steps. Now which kind of Docker we are trying to install? Open source. We are not installing the enterprise edition. We are trying to install the community edition. Okay, community edition in the sense CE. Okay, last time, like in the older versions, we used to have a single package, whether it is for a licensed one or non-licensed one. Okay, but right now they have divided it. So they were divided into two package names: Docker-CE, Docker-E. E in the sense enterprise edition, CE in the sense community edition. Okay, so update. Always remember, whenever you install your operating system for the first time of Ubuntu, first command you have to run after you log in is nothing but apt update. First command you have to run. Why this command has to be run? Because this is a new operating system. So it doesn't know where are the repositories and how to download the packages. First, it has to verify what repositories I have. So it will verify that, and it will update your apt database. Okay, to saying that okay, these are the repositories which I have. Please try to install the packages from this repositories. That is what it will try to convey. So you have to do this. Okay, after that, when this ISO is installed, these packages might be in the older version. So now I want to upgrade all the packages on my operating system to the latest version. So to do that, apt, why I'm trying to do, because simple, when your ISO was created, that ISO might have installed a older version. Okay, so now you need to upgrade it to the latest version right now. So to do that, your operating system has to be up to date with the packages. So you have to execute this command. You can see these many packages are need to be upgraded. Okay, so continue. You can just press enter, or we can give control y. So you are accepting for the packages upgrade. See, you can see it is showing you on the left hand side some URL, right? From this URL, it is trying to download. For example, this URL, it is trying to download this particular package, and this is the version. Okay, and the size of that particular package. Now, after downloading, now you can see this is the installation part. which is going on, and this is the progress bar. Okay. Why we do sometimes, because your kernel which is installed from the IS4, and now you might have a different kernel version. So when that upgrade will happen, right, you have to reboot your system. Okay. So here it is a generic upgrade. It's not that important actually. Let's see. It's always better for the first time when you do the operating system installation and this upgrade, right? Just reboot the system. Okay. If you see on the boot directory, see, I don't have any old versions. See, everything is new versions. Okay. But still, I want to do some reboot. So init space 6. If I execute this command, it will reboot the system. If I do init space 0, it will shut down the system. Okay. So 6 reboot. I need to wait for a few minutes. Why? Because this VM has to come up, right? You can see now it is getting started again. So I will stop here. Tomorrow we'll continue from here. Okay. After the system is ready, right? I'll just log in and I will show you. After this, tomorrow we'll continue with Docker installation and then Vagrant automation process. Okay.
Sudhir, do we have to perform all these steps and be ready
See,
from our end?
initially,
Or
if you want to understand how the operating system should be installed and what are the stages we have, just you can practice for the first 1, 2 times. That's enough actually. Okay.
no, for further practice, be
No,
ready with this.
every time it is not needed. You can use a Vagrant tool. I told you, right? So either you can use Vagrant tool or any other tool to simplify your job. Okay. So no one will ask you why you have installed through Vagrant or why you install. Your job is to make your machine ready to install or to test something or to do some POC. That's your job, right?
Okay, I mean, you will let us know when to install and be
Yeah,
ready.
yeah. See, everything I will let you know, like what should be done and what stages you have to do like that. What are the things you have to do for what kind of tools. These things I will explain. No need to worry. Yeah,
Okay. At this stage, we don't have to do this in our laptops.
worry too much. Yeah, yeah. There are some other ways actually to do. Okay, I'll just explain you that. But right now we have seen manually how to install an operating system, because when a person is completely new to this course, right, he cannot understand, he will get messed up. So that's the reason, let me show him how to install the operating system whenever he wants to practice after our course or somewhere, when he's joining somewhere, right? He should not be something like, okay, I don't know operating system installation. That is huge minus, right? So, like, it has to be there. You have to know how to install operating system, because when you're working on product-based companies, you have to do on your own everything almost. Okay, so that's all.
Sudhir, we gonna do that same exercise by Vagrant or
You can do it. Which one you are talking about?
uh, no? I'm talking about the
See,
Vagrant. Same exercise we gonna do the.
see, that's what. See, the part is not UI in the sense what I cannot install operating system through dashboard, right? I don't have anything. Okay, so for that reason only, I'm using Vagrant tool. No need to install operating system manually from my end. Vagrant tool will take care of it. Just I want to specify which Ubuntu version I want. Automatically it will download it, it will install, it will make my VM ready, and even this Docker packages also, if I say, it will try to install that as well. So when I log into my VM, all the things will be get ready within few minutes, right? So I can have some cup of coffee and come back, right? That's how it is. No need to sit in front of a machine and just click on each and every step what I want. It's not that. I already specified to my Vagrant that please follow the steps and try to install the operating system. It does that. That is called as your automation, right?
Yes.
It makes sense, right? What I told. That's how it is actually. Okay. Yeah.
So with that Vagrant tool, will be able to install argument passing installations also?
Yes, we can do. We can pass so many arguments, but it will be like huge command, right? Instead of that, it is better to write an Vagrant file instead of passing through CLI. It takes lot of options. Every time you cannot remember, right? That's all.
Okay.
Yeah. Let's simplify our job, not go too complex, right? So that's all for today. Thank you guys. So tomorrow we will continue with the rest of the topic. Okay. And day after tomorrow we'll be talking about networking. So today, tomorrow, and day after tomorrow classes are important for you to step into Docker. So from day after tomorrow, day after tomorrow will be networking. After that, we'll be starting with Docker. Okay, straight away. Okay. Thank you.